Right, so we've been delving into a little bit more detail about how Ben Underwood sees. We wrote this last time about how he sees. Feel free to pause the video and read this stuff in a bit more detail. Um, and now we're adding more specific questions. So how does he tell how far away something is? How would he expect the volume to change if it was further away? And then what would happen? Because if it's something further away, then it's going to take a while for the echo to come back, and it's going to be quieter because the sound would have spread out by the time it gets back to him. However, what if it got back to him and took a while for it to come back, or maybe it took a short time to come back, and it was not the volume, not the loudness that he would expect. So one way that the loudness is going to change is the distance the object is away, but the other way that it could change is the material that it's made out of, and also the shape of the material. So if the object is softer or kind of more wavy and curved, it's not always going to be reflected back as hard. So if we look at these shapes here, the front of this ball is going to produce a louder echo than these bits at the top and the bottom. As well as that, these bits up here will take a while for the echo to come back. So I'll come back to shapes in a bit more in a moment, but as I said, texture as well. So a softer object is going to produce a quieter echo. So if the echo comes back quite quickly but is surprisingly quiet, maybe it's been reflected off some curtains or a sofa or something like this. So whilst we can see color, he can see texture, and in a way, you could imagine that perhaps in his mind he sees different textures as different colors. Perhaps if he produces an image, that's an interesting idea. Now, what about looking at this in a little bit more detail here? As I said, the orange, I've sort of color coded this to say that the ones in green are echoes that would come back quicker, more quickly. Just fairly quick, right? So, whereas the ones in orange or yellow would come back not as quick. So this one, this bit of the ball is the closest to him, so the echo is going to come back fairly quick. Whereas the top part and the bottom part, it won't come back as quick. So he could click at different angles to get an idea of the shape of the object and also the height of the object, because eventually it's not going to get an echo at all. And he could do that around the sides as well. So it's even harder the hardest bit to understand is, can you tell the difference between a curve and a straight and a diagonal line? Well, if he's really good, yes, because the rate at which, as he moves upwards, the rate at which the time it takes for the echo to come back, the rate at which that time changes, in this case would be constant, whereas in this case would gradually increase. That's kind of difficult to understand there, but might be something to think about. Basically, as he goes up a little bit on this one, the the time it takes for the echo to come back is fairly similar because it's not changed that much. But if he later on, the difference in height will cause much larger difference in the echo. Whereas in the triangle, the difference between echolocating here and here produces the same difference in the echo times between the orange one and the yellow one. Right, that's kind of tricky, that one. But there is more to consider with Ben Underwood, and there is one more that I would like to look at maybe at the beginning of next lesson. I'll just briefly mention it now, and I won't tell you it. I'll just hint. I want you to try to imagine what the image of the world would look like of a room, for example, if he was just standing there trying to visualize the room, compared with how we stand and visualize a room as we're standing in it. That one's a weird one. So we'll think about that one next lesson.